20. Sleep is 20, remembering the insignificant flamenco dancer in Granada who became important as you watch the mountain ridge, the dry hills. What an idiotic number. Sleep is 20. It certainly isn't 20 sheep. There weren't that many in the herd under the cold crest of Sierra Nevada. It's more like 20 Madison Avenue buses while I go droning away at my dream life. Each episode is important, that's what it is. Sequences. I've got going a 20-act drama, the theater of the active. The critics are surely there, even the actors, even the flowers presented on stage, even the wildflowers picked by the wife of the goatherd each morning early while I sleep under the snow cane of Sierra Nevada. Yellow caps like castanets. I reach into my bouquet half dreaming and count 20 yellow-capped heads. Flowers clicking 20 times because they like to repeat themselves, as I do, as does the morning or the drama when hopes will be acted many times, as even these dreams in similar people's heads. 20 castanets.
Wow, that is such a great poem. Okay, Dan Bergman, let's hear what you have to say about it.
Beginning with 20 is a deliberate thwarting of the meaning and insight that using a word instead of a number would provide, like sleep is necessary, impossible, elusive, healing, or dangerous. Then Guest tries to recover from having used a number instead of a word, so the poem chronicles the struggle between using expected words and this kind of poetry which seeks to evade the limitations of clarity. In the end, the noun has the last word.
Oh, Dan, there's snaps for me. Thank you for that. Okay, so Andrew first, followed by Lainey.
Just some phrases I wrote down reading the poem and listening to Dan's commentary were wobbly equivalents, oniric writing, soporific flowers, and centrifugal dismounts.
And what do those phrases add up to for you?
Well, I think what's really interesting about this poem, I mean, there are many things that are very interesting about it, is that you kind of begin to get a sense of what Guests will eventually start doing more fervently, which is the kind of manipulation of textual space in a really like precise, elegant crystal fashion, in a very like kind of Mallarmean treatment. And I think the ending of it is a really like beautiful example of that kind of poetic maneuver.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so let's go to Lainey, followed by Gabby, followed by Al Pascal. I just like saying that name. And then, Dan, if you don't mind, you can get the final word on 20 if you want to add a comment. Lainey.
I'm thinking about, Dan, your comment about the poet has to recover from using the number instead of the noun, and then the noun having the last word, and how this process is somehow akin to how do we find our balance inside a poem, inside a dream. So somehow the process of writing a poem, composing a poem, is a process of recovering the ability to stand up in this different state of consciousness.
Wow, Lainey, that was amazing. Thank you. Gabby, then Al, then Dan.
My thought is like, I think the right way to think about dream logic is that it kind of works in a but also logic, insofar as in a dream, you're able to hold on to two identifications for the same object at the same time. So it's a chair, but it's also my mother, and this is the kind of weird things that like dreams do. And I don't mean that in a kind of like Freudian, I mean quite literally like, oh, I was in a room and I was eating dinner, but the dinner was also ribbons. Like dreams just have this kind of ability to—
They're poetic.
Yeah, they have a kind of way of making things multiple things at once, and feel like when people tell their dreams, they say like, but also a lot, oh, I was talking to someone and it was Al, but it was also Joe Biden. Like it was both, and you have that kind of ability to hold on to both. And I think this poem does that in several ways. I mean, it feels like the images are kind of sewn through in a way where they kind of recur in these kind of surprising ways. And I like that the moment that leads us to the end is like, they are flowers, they are heads, they are castanets. And the poem is interested in holding those three things not as like three different attempts to describe the same thing, but three identifiers that are all true at the same time for whatever that object is. And so I take like Dan's comment about kind of using these different kind of names for the same thing. So a number instead of a noun. That seems related to me, and the way that 20 here means so many different things and feels so mobile is part of the way I think this poem tries to imitate dream logic.
Wow. I mean, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question that, Gabby, you can I don't know how rhetorical it is. I'm going to ask an annoying question, and you can respond if you want. It demonstrates my recency bias, which is generally true because I like modern and contemporary art, and I'm not so cool on the earlier stuff. So there's that bias. Why the hell did it take so long for literature to realize that the dream can be a model for the way we deploy language? Or even pigment on...
I don't know if you're going to like my answer.
Okay, go ahead. You're going to say it always was there, Al.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that psychoanalysis and Freud took over the way that we interpret literature, so that like not only was Freud's interpretation of dream logic so influential to the way people interpret literature insofar as just any kind of psychoanalytic criticism, but it's also important to the way people write literature. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your feelings on the matter, I think Freud determined a lot of this for us in the 20th century.
Yeah, I think we should have a sidebar and write a book together on that whole argument, because I actually want to push back on it and say someone like Gertrude Stein, who is more William Jamesian than Freudian, is going to talk about a blind glass and is going to do the dream stuff and is not at all thinking about the easy interpretation. And Verlaine and Mallarmé preceded Freud. So, I guess, yeah. Anyway. Michael. We need, do we have sound on Michael? Yep, okay.
Dan's answer to your question, why did it take literature so long, is because we were asleep.
Dan, I'm going to invite you, I'm going to turn to Al Pascal on the phone, but when we're done with Al, I want to invite Dan to speak autobiographically about out of your own relationship with language, and because we've had extended conversations in which you said that the first year of ModPo, 2012 for you, Stein came as like just a horrible interruption in the clarity that you had been seeking in the earlier poetry, such as imagism. And now you've changed your view. And I wonder how this using dream to create poetry relates to your own feelings about communication and language. That's a giant question, Dan, and I'm really sorry for it. So Al Pascal, what do you think about all this? How are you?
Hello. I think that on the one hand, this does read obviously as a poem about dreams, and on the other hand, Dan opened talking about sleep being elusive, and I think that it does open feeling like there are these intrusive thoughts that actually kind of have a flavor of insomnia. And sure. I, like the insignificant flamenco dancer, immediately put me in a headspace of feeling like I can't go to sleep because I'm just thinking about this flamenco dancer I saw and I don't know why. Yeah. And for some reason, the fact that the poem opens that way, even though I'm being told constantly in like so many different moments that we are in the dream space, I'm actually thinking that this is someone who is having like waking dreams, or who is just like, oh man, and there goes a bus and I'm like awake again. And oh man, I'm thinking about this again. And so it actually is a really interesting, like non-sleep poem in the way that I have read it. And I wonder if anyone else has had that experience of like sleep is 20 almost feels to me of like this, like that sleep is elusive. I can't get to it. Sleep is this far off number. It's not even an experience I can have. And maybe that like cedar that is being described is because it's almost abstract. It's not something that the poet herself is experiencing. And also, I love dream poetry. So, it's an interesting mix there.
Thank you for that comment, Al. That's fantastic. Dan, that was a lollapalooza of a question. I'm dying to know what you think.
Dan's answer is joy.
Can you get to the mic? Sorry.
Dan's answer is joy to say that I now understand dreaming as a form of language.
Wow. Very cool.
And he had one more thing that he pre-recorded about.
Okay, but you need to get close to the mic there.
Madison Avenue buses is shocking. You get on a bus to go somewhere, but no Madison Avenue bus goes to Spain or the mountains or wildflowers.
I love that. That's true. Wouldn't it be great to get on a Madison Avenue bus and end up in Granada? That'd be very cool.